Alex Dang is a venture builder. He is a CEO, a McKinsey partner, and he is the author of The Venture Mindset. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you, George.
Excited to have you on. Tell us a little about your personal life, some more about your work, and what motivated you to put pen to paper to write the book.
Totally. And look, I think actually believe that the most fascinating facts about anyone's life are not mentioned on his or her resume. I actually started writing a book and became author after my career at McKinsey and after my startup, Cancer Compass. I started to write the book when my son was born. He is now 16 months old, and trust me, that was kind of an interesting journey to write the book and see my son growing. And in some cases, I had to spend some time with him on my lap, writing a chapter or two in different coffee shops and in way different circumstances. But the idea behind the book is pretty straightforward. I live in Silicon Valley in a small town, San Carlos, surrounded by tons of entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, and AI scientists, and they are building the future. And as an advisor and as someone who built multiple businesses within Amazon, I feel that this knowledge has to be shared. There is something different about the way how VCs and many venture-backed companies make decisions. So we partnered with my friend and my co-author, Ilya Streblev, who's a professor from Stanford, with his focus on venture capital and his research all about venture capital. And we partnered together to write this book, to share principles, how VCs make decisions. And we do believe that this book is about VCs, but not for VCs, but it's actually for anyone who is making important high stakes decisions in their life, in their career, in business. I'm now glad that the book is almost published. So it's May 21st when the book is going to be published.
Excellent. And did it work out the way you wanted, or does that remain to be seen?
You may imagine that for any product of that kind, you are never satisfied to 100%. And obviously, we had to cut some content by our editors. We work with Penguin Random House, and they are pretty strict about the length. And they basically said, hey, guys, you have to kill your darlings. And we do believe that that's the right approach. We actually write about this approach in our book, that you are surrounded by so many ideas. And ideally, you test all of them, maybe hundreds of ideas, but you cannot pursue all of them at the same time. What you will have to do is to kill your darlings. You will have to double down on some of the ideas which are promising, which are resonating, and kill or quit the ones which are not working well. So hopefully we're not quitting these ideas, but we'll keep some of these ideas for our maybe book number 2.
Yeah, appreciate that. So as you are, the term is not boiling the ocean, but it is taking an immense amount of knowledge and distilling it down. Perhaps that's a better term. Between you and your writing partner, did you have to do any research, or was this all just stuff that you knew and it's just putting it all together?
The whole book is based on lots of research conducted by Ilya and his team at Stanford. That's a pretty comprehensive research about probably the largest one around venture capital and venture capital, how to make decisions. It's one of the largest surveys of all VCs and the research is about going through every single stage from where the ideas are coming from, how the decision is made within venture capital partners, which is typically a very small team of people who are making many important calls, because after you invest, there's no return. You have to wait and then either double down or quit, and how long it takes to exit or to IPO the company. It's also based on my stories from trenches. That's what intrigued me, that many of the principles which VCs use are utilized in very well-known companies like Google or Amazon. And we decided to combine it all together in one book. So all the learnings from research, from his and my board experience, from my advisory experience, we combine in one book, and hopefully it will be useful and full of anecdotes and stories, because that's, I think, is critical to not just to present you facts and numbers, but also to demonstrate how each story plays out in the real life.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think we all like to see facts and numbers to back up whatever claims that we're making, but it's the anecdotes and the stories that really bring it to life. So,
Totally. Just think
yeah.
about the uh, tool or app that we currently use as we record this podcast. It's called Zoom. The company would not exist without a few VCs, and we interviewed them, who decided to back the company when so many apps already existed at the time. Think of Skype or Google. They all had their own teleconferencing apps to communicate with each other via internet. Still, a few VCs decided that, hey, Eric Yuan and his team can do something different. And they did that just less than 15 years ago, meaning that we would not have Zoom and would not have many other products like Uber or Apple Watch or Moderna as a vaccine manufacturer without VCs. So there is something in the way that VCs make decisions that allow them to find and fund such ideas very early on. They make these important bets, and we call them in our book home run hunters. You can call them jackpot hunters as well. They do search for such outliers, which will return them, their language, the whole fund, meaning that they will generate not just 20% return, not just 40% return, but 10x, 100x. And we do believe that the same approach should be utilized not just by large Fortune 500 corporations and managers of such companies, but also in our daily lives when we make career decisions or other important decisions, which may require some uncertainty or risk.
Appreciate that. So, kind of building on the home run idea, Moneyball came out however many years ago that detailed the Oakland A's, so sort of your neck of the woods, and talked about the analytical side of baseball versus the traditional go by feel. How does
That's
that
true.
how does that play into your research?
I may surprise people who are familiar with VCs, but they're not deep into the weeds of what's actually going on here, that VCs do not really like risk that much. Some of them even call themselves risk reduction engineers. What they do, they try to, because they take so many risks, they make a bet on the team and on a business plan too often just literally scratched on written on a piece of paper. On a prototype. So therefore, they have to understand how to navigate these risks and how to manage all such risks. And there are a few principles. For instance, one of them is say no 100 times, which means that actually your initial reaction to the idea could be no. And way more often, you will have to say no in order to find the one which may become a home run. It's actually backed by statistics. Ilya and his team reviewed how many deals has to be reviewed in order to find the one which will become potentially a unicorn. And it's 101 to 1. It varies across different stages, different sectors, industries. Biotech is different from tech, but on average, it's 101 to 1, which literally means that you have to say no 100 times. That's one of the principles, which is pretty analytical in terms of the approach. They have to search for the reasons why not to invest in the first place. Another principle is that after you make an investment or you decide that the idea that you decided to pursue worth it, you have to still review that again and again. I can refer to my Amazon experience. When we were launching any ideas, we first tested them. We first piloted them, sometimes in a single zip code, sometimes in a single state, to see whether it resonates with a customer, if customers actually love the service or experience or new product. And if they do, then we double down. So that's another principle, double down equipped, which I already referred to earlier today, that you do not have to pursue all of the ideas, but the ones which truly resonate, you have to do.
Mm-hmm. The sunk cost fallacy. How do you think about that?
Oh, well, that's such a typical behavior of so many senior executives in larger corporations. And to be honest, I think that this could be one of the reasons why Fortune 500 and list of these companies, if you compare the one today with the one which was originally published, you will see that there are only 10% or around that number survivors in that list. So too many companies disappear. And one of the reasons is that too often they just stick to the plan that they had in the very beginning. They have this notion of failure is not an option. And that's a very wrong strategy whenever you pursue new ideas or innovative ideas. Why? Because you have to actually fail often enough. That's the idea which will drive you in your search, in your pursuit of home runs. I actually use this very tactical thing I can share with your audience is that in my office at Amazon, I always had press releases of my successful launches as well as of my failed launches. My team would appreciate that, but in some cases they would just ask, why would you publicly discuss your failures? And the reason for that is that I'm not afraid of my failures, and I want them not to be afraid of those. And Jeff Bezos, who used to be the CEO and the founder of Amazon, he was actually proud of his failures because failures should scale with the scale of your business and your ideas. If you never fail, then it means that you're not taking enough risks. So this is the principle.
So if you're not failing, it means you're not taking enough risks, you're holding on for way too long, and that will slowly but surely destroy your company.
Totally. Again, I mean, there will be so many companies which will dedicate part of their decision making to way more traditional mindset, which is the right thing to do. Because for day-to-day operations, you do not need venture mindset. To keep your supply chain working, you do not need venture mindset. But whenever you face things like, or ideas like AI, artificial intelligence, or robotics, or some disruption in terms of the supply chain, or the need to completely reinvent the way that your product is delivered to your customers, that's the moment in time when you have to switch gears, when you have to switch from your traditional mindset to way more flexible, and we believe way more efficient mindset of venture capitalists. They just demonstrate that that's the way that they had to develop their decision-making process in order to be successful, because that's the environment that they live in, and therefore we can learn a lot from them.
Is the idea to be perfect or just to get as close to great decision making as one possibly can?
You may imagine that in the world of innovation, there is no such word as perfect, just because it's all about MVPs, we call it here in Silicon Valley, or minimum viable products. So things that would work well, and satisfy the customer need, but at the same time will be always work in progress because you learn on the way. And that's our piece of advice to larger organizations, is that they will have to test and learn, and that is the right mode to experiment. We also give the same recommendation to people across other decisions in their lives. They do not have to bet the farm. They may not have to switch from one career to another. They may just explore new gigs. Like with a book, I, trust me, never imagined myself a book author. If you asked me 10 years ago, would say, well, that's absolutely impossible. I'm not a writer by no means. But at the same time, what we did, we just tried to write a sample chapter, and we wrote it. And we presented the sample chapter, these ideas that we talked to our clients. Now we put it on paper and discussed with some book agents, and they said, wow, that's a pretty cool stuff. Let's double down. And we did exactly that. And so it all starts with a small experiment that you dedicate only a percentage of your time to. But then if it works, then it may become your gig. And that's when the time is to perfect that and to make sure that it's actually polished and readily available to be published.
I appreciate that. So wisdom comes through experience, it comes from maturity, it comes from learning from others. So you've gone through the exercise of writing the book in 16 months or however long it's been. Your partner did this exhaustive research, and now people have it in their hands. And I think that we all hope that we're able to learn from others' mistakes and to glean wisdom from others. How good are you at that, and how good are most VCs at that?
Well, learning from mistakes is something that certainly is a part of the VC journey, just because otherwise they would waste the whole fund. Some VCs, I will give you one example, they even created so-called anti-portfolios, and some of them are publicly available. What is it? It's a page where a very big VC, they listed all of their missed opportunities, companies that they rejected, which eventually, including Zoom or Google, became truly, truly transformational companies. Think about that. How often do you publicly discuss your failures of this kind? The failures of omission rather than commission, things that they missed on the way. I think no one is truly proud of their failures, but certainly that there's a lot to learn from such failures. And obviously in book writing, it was all about planning. And obviously we made many mistakes on the way, including committing to probably pretty strict timeline. But again, that's part of the process, is to learn on the go, polish your style, find your voice, and hopefully the result will be enjoyable.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So the book is going to be live when this show certainly airs. Do you now identify as an author, Alex?
I do. I certainly now added to my LinkedIn profile. We started that so many facts are not mentioned on LinkedIn. This is the one that I certainly will post online, and it's already there. But look, I mean, it's all of these bets are very long term. And my piece of advice or suggestion to my team members as a mentor, to my clients, is whenever you deal with innovative stuff, new stuff, things that where you are creating something from scratch, some unknown paths, that you have to be patient and you have to think long. That's what helps to make right decisions. Because think of my peers and colleagues from Amazon, when we discussed their annual bonuses, I think what really mattered is that you worked for Amazon, that you experienced so many amazing businesses, and that your long-term value is increasing, that you do deliver impact, that you build phenomenal relationships as a result of that work. That's why when you start to think long-term, you see that the point that your annual bonus will be so small compared to the true impact of what you're doing. So we hope that the book and its impact will be seen not just the day when it's going to be released. So certainly I will be very excited. And when the first time I kept the book in my hands, that was an amazing moment. But the true appreciation, the true value is still going to be delivered years ahead, when the book will hopefully generate some ideas and will help people to make better decisions, and especially high stakes decisions. That was our goal, and hopefully we'll achieve it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an incredible goal, and I'm confident you're going to have a really profound impact in that area, because we're hit with so many different things, and people want our attention, they want our money, and they want our time. And the better we can be at making good decisions about things, saying yes to fewer things and no to at least 100 things, as it would be, is probably going to position us for long-term success. In terms of art, how important is what the company is doing to a VC as they're looking to fund it versus that fundamentals of the actual business itself?
That's amazing that you asked this question, George, because we actually had a piece of research that addresses that specific questions. What do VCs actually pay attention to when they make an investment? What is important? What made a company that they made an investment in truly successful? So, and here's the results. What was the most important factor for a VC when they looked at a startup? What was the key success factor? It's amazing to learn that that's team. We call it jockey versus the horse. Jockey, meaning that the team, which is leading the startup, not just the founders, but the whole founding team, the first engineer, the first designer, the first biz dev person. business plan, of course, matters, and all the horse factors, i.e., product, business model, the engineering component of that, of course, that matters. But if you had to ask, when you ask a VC what truly became the success factor, it will be always the team. And why is that? Because when you deal with some uncertain environment, you do not know what kind of problems the team and the company would face. To some extent, you actually do not really know whether the product that they start with will be the product that they will end up with. And Tiny Glitch was a startup. Tiny Speck was the name of a startup. Glitch was the name of a game that they published. And you never heard about that name before, but now we know the company which originated from that idea as Slack. And the bet was on the team. That's the reason. That's the reason why so many startups pivot, and VCs still continue to make a bet on that team and on that startup, because the bet is on the team. So think about that from, say, a large corporation perspective. Normally, the process is completely opposite. You start with a business plan, you discuss financial models, you discuss very specific details about the distribution strategy. As a partner at McKinsey, I went through that so many times. But then only the last question after the business plan is approved would be, who would actually lead this idea? Oh, by the way, let's start hiring for this idea, for this phenomenal business. This is the wrong approach. You have to start with the team. So that's why, to address your question, what do they pay attention to? They pay attention to the team. And we think that when you deal with any uncertain environment, any risky environment, you have to do the same way. You have to think team first.
I love it. Well, Alex, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people learn more about you? How can they engage with you? And most importantly, where can they get their copy of Venture Mindset?
So the copy, obviously, you may imagine, as someone who worked at Amazon, I have my own preference, and that's Amazon as a Prime member. And I work hard to make sure that it is accessible from different countries. There is a UK version, US version, so you can find your version. But obviously, it's also available in brick and mortar retailers as well. So you can go to Barnes & Noble and other retailers. I'm absolutely happy to stay in touch with people. I believe in the principle of paying forward, and I love to help people if I can. Sometimes by just spending 10, 15, 20 minutes with someone, it may change someone's life or career. So yeah, anyone can find me on LinkedIn. I will be happy to stay in touch.
Excellent. Well, if you enjoyed as much as I did, show Alex your appreciation and share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. You can find Alex on LinkedIn. I will certainly link that in the notes, and then get your copy of The Venture Mindset wherever you buy your books, but certainly Amazon is a wonderful place to do that. We will link that in the notes as well. Thanks again, Alex.
Thank you, George.
Till next time, remember, do your part by doing your best.